Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar with RYNO, co-hosted with Lennox. My name is Brandon Doyle. I'm our Senior Director of Marketing here at RYNO, and we have an awesome about 40-minute presentation for you here today. You are absolutely going to learn about AI and actionable takeaways that you can implement now. Taylor's going to give away a lot of tips and strategies that either you can bring back to your digital marketing agency or again, implement yourself to help you increase your rankings on ChatGPT search and other AI platforms. So again, we welcome you and thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. Taylor and I are actually in Denver, Colorado right now at Next Star Super Meeting, and Taylor is going to be needed on stage here in a little bit. So we've got Taylor for a good 45 minutes. We've set aside Q&A at the end as well. So any questions you do have, feel free to hit the little Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Send them over when you think of them. I'll be moderating the Q&A. I may answer you behind the scenes while Taylor's doing his thing, or I might save it for the end if it's a really great question that I think a lot of folks deserve to hear the answer to. So we don't want you to forget those questions. Don't save them for the end. Send them on over as you think of them, and we'll handle them. All right, Taylor, the floor is yours. Welcome. Thank you for blessing us with your presence and teaching us all about AI.
Whoa, big shoes to fill with that introduction. I'm super excited to be here, everyone. Before we jump into anything, I can't really see everyone on my screen, so I have my eyes on the chat right now. I'd love to put a 1 in the chat, right? Pull up the chat, put a number 1 if you've ever used ChatGPT. Put number 1 in the chat. Yes, I've used ChatGPT. If you haven't, put a number 2. Let's see as the chats come in. I want to see kind of what that looks like for the participants on the call today, because I'm really excited to talk about AI and how we've handled it here at RYNO for our clients and for some of these different pieces. I'm super excited to jump in. I can see a few answers coming in to the chat.
Yeah, Taylor, it looks like something funny might be happening with the chat. So folks are using the Q&A, but that's all right.
I
So
see.
I
Yep.
see a bunch of
Okay, cool.
ones.
Yeah, I'm seeing a bunch of ones. Okay, cool. Yeah. This is perfect. This is exactly what we're seeing across our industry right now in digital marketing, and then also obviously in every other industry that we have. So when we talk about AI and return on investment and really what the what is going on, right? What are we talking about here? AI is a big buzzword around our industry right now, both in digital marketing as well as home services in general, right? We have AI answering services, we have ChatGPT, we've got these large language models, LLMs, right? Like Gemini and ChatGPT and Perplexity and all these different things that really it's coming down to answer engine optimization. We have to start putting out really high quality content for each of these channels. And that's where this roadmap is super, super important, right? So do you have a business presence in some of the channels that you see on screen here? That's really what it's all about. Brandon mentioned it. My name is Taylor. I am the Director of Training and Development Ops here at RYNO, and I have had an amazing time leading the charge on our innovation team, which is super exciting. I'll talk about that here in just a second. Here at RYNO, we have gone through a lot of different changes, and we're super excited for AI to be one of those changes. We've worked with a ton of different logos, ranging from single contractor shops all the way over to franchise partners, PE partners, and retail partners. We're committed to setting the bar, and the reason we put the innovation lab in place is to do just that when it comes to AI. We've been doing that since 2008, and we don't have any plans to stop now. We're super excited to jump into exactly what this means for you. And if you've ever taken a training from me before, this is not me pitching RYNO. This is me telling you, hey, bring this to your agency. Start implementing this yourself. I'm going to give you actionable steps to do that. Because at the end of the day, we need to be staying ahead of the trends. We need to be constantly studying both performance and market-rated leads for our contractors. And AI is the largest change since the Yellow Pages to online. right? We don't have to believe everything we're seeing about AI, but it's definitely something we need to keep an eye on. And we want to start measuring that via, yes, lead, booking percentage, right? AI coaching and our lifetime customer value for sure. But we also need to be measuring like how do we influence ChatGPT to rank businesses like yours? And honestly, that's the goal, right? So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a personal story to really frame up what we're here to accomplish today. The biggest thing I want to share is how to pass competitors. We always look at kind of the competition and how can I get ahead? What can I do differently to get ahead? And so I used to be a swim coach. I was on swim team for a number of years. I love teaching people how to swim, teaching people new things. I love to help people win. And in swimming, in the races, if you ever watch the Olympics, you dive in, you swim down to the other side, and you flip turn or make a turn on the wall and push off and come back. Sometimes you do that over and over again. Sometimes you just do that once. It just depends on, obviously, on the length of the race. But in those turns, that's when you can pass your competitors in a swimming race, right? If you have a really efficient turn and you come out of that wall really, really fast, you can make some good passes on your competitors. And I wanted to bridge that over to what is happening with AI literally right now, right? If you think back to like the dot-com bubble or things like that, this is the opportunity that we have to get ahead. This is the turn that we get to turn into, right? I'll put it in one more analogy because I love my analogies. I had a pleasure of going to Google's campus in San Francisco, and I talked with the head of YouTube. He was there since the inception of YouTube, and he said the biggest thing you can do is that when things get challenging, when things are new and hard, is to lean into the turn, lean into that race, so that you can come out of that turn ahead of your competition. And that is what we are talking about today. That's exactly what our goal is. So let's set the stage. Let's set that goal. The goal of this session is absolutely simple. We need to understand how AI is reshaping consumer behavior online and what you guys can do, what contractors can do right now to stay ahead. This isn't about tech for just like tech's sake. This is actually protecting your pipeline, your leads, and promoting long-term growth. So everything has to start with the goal. If you start flying an airplane without radar, without a destination, you're just flying blind, right? We have to have a goal in mind. And to do that, we have to have a plan, right? We have to have a plan to achieve the goal that we've set out. So if we're going to talk about how AI is reshaping consumer behavior, we need to understand why the heck are we here today? Why does AI matter, right? We also need to understand how does it work? How do we influence AI? We need to understand the different pieces of how it works so that we can actually influence. And that brings us to the third part of the plan is what can we do about it now, right? And if you can answer all these questions really, really clearly for your business, which hopefully I can help with you today, is you'll walk away with a plan that you can act on tomorrow. You might walk away with a plan that you can act on as soon as we hit end on this webinar. And that's the deal that I want to make with you today. Taking notes, taking screenshots, absolutely encouraged, 100%. However, what I want you to do is write down one action item. Something that you can take away, that you can do tomorrow, the next day, on Monday, whenever you're going to do it, whenever you're going to execute it. I want you to take at least one action item from what I'm going to share with you today, because ambition without action is meaningless. It's nothing. And if you're swimming down the pool and you go into that turn and you don't do anything with it, you have an opportunity to pass your competitors. If you don't do anything, what does it matter? So that's my deal. I'm going to hold you accountable to it. We'll come back to that at the end of the presentation. I want to make sure we're taking action. Cool. So let's dive in. Why does it matter? Why does AI matter? Why are we here today? First, huge disclaimer that I want to put up in front of you is there are a ton of platforms at play here, right? We've got Gemini, we've got Claude, we've got Perplexity, DeepSeek, just to name a few, right? If you haven't heard of those names, I would encourage you to go look at them because it is going to influence how we move forward. For today, we're going to focus on just the two giants that we've seen. Google search, right? Everyone goes to Google to do their searching versus ChatGPT. right? And ChatGPT was the first to market. That was the first one that was kind of right at the top, and that's why we're going to focus on that. So that's the big caveat that I want to put on. Yes, there are other large language models, AI models, but we're going to focus on ChatGPT first. Because my question is, why do we say Google it? And Brandon, I think we have a Q&A here, or a poll that we can push forward of why do we say Google it? And I'm curious to see some responses come in on this poll. If you go over to the poll section, you can do a response here. And I'm just curious, kind of what are you guys thinking? Why do we say Google? Why did Google become a verb in our world? I'll give you a minute to fill out that poll.
Starting to see some interesting data here, Taylor.
Yeah, 50-50. Looks like a lot of people are not saying money, but a lot of people are saying quality and trust. Okay, I like that. Quality and trust. Trust is winning now. We got a few other people. I'll leave it open for just a few more minutes and then we can move on. But I'm just curious kind of what we're thinking. Why did Google become a verb? Cool. We'll stop there. I know there's a few other participants. Feel free. I'll leave it open. Feel free to put your answers there. It looks like 67% of you are saying trust, and you're absolutely right. Right? Quality is definitely part of it. Maybe a trick question here, but trust is absolutely the right answer here because when you go to Google, let's say for example, I go to Google and I go search for a law firm and it gives me yoga results, I've diminished trust, right? I don't trust this search engine to give me quality, accurate responses. And Google has done such a great job of if you put in a query, a search query, if you search something on Google, it's going to give you the most accurate or what it thinks the most accurate information or results for you to have, right? That's how they've monetized trust. That's why they make a lot of money, right? When they're running Google ads, like people make those searches and they get the results that they're looking for. Google has essentially monetized trust. And they've done a really, really good job of that because it became a verb. It's something where we go. If my AC unit breaks down as a homeowner, I go to Google, right? Or do I? Because that's the question. That's what I'm seeing in our industry right now. I think Jeff Bezos said it best. Google is kind of like a mountain, and you can't move the mountain, right? They have a lot of market share, 100%. But you can climb the mountain. And I wanted to share a few things with you on this that I found really, really interesting. 27% of Americans are turning to AI over Google to get the answers that they need. That's your customers. Over a quarter of Americans are turning to ChatGPT or AI over Google, right? That's something we have to keep an eye on. That because search is all about trust. And you can see on the slides here, Google's integrity is being questioned like it hasn't been before. Between the antitrust trials, right, the bias, the rise of personalization, I can go to ChatGPT and I can ask it a question and then ask it another question and ask it another question, and it gives me really personalized answers based on what it knows about me. Customers are also wondering if Google is the most objective at this point too, right? Because we as marketers can influence Google and the results that it gives. That's our job. And ChatGPT seems it has a perception to be a little bit more objective. So my point with this is that the crack in trust, it's opened the door for AI. Google's losing a little bit of trust here. And with this disruption, it comes an opportunity, right, for us to get in front of. Remember, turning into AI, we're going to turn into this race because the race to dethrone Google has begun. We are here for it. And I'm going to show some data behind this because I always love to follow up this claim with some data. So my claim is AI adoption isn't creeping in, it's absolutely exploding because users are moving to AI. It's faster, it's more conversational. You can have a conversation back and forth. It has the perception of being more personal. That's why now is the time to do something about it. Now is the time we should absolutely jump on this because if we adapt early, we can capture the trust before our competitors catch up. So let me walk you through some of these screenshots here. The one on the top right, you can see that Google's global search engine share falls below 90% for the first time in nearly a decade. That is something that goes, my little red flag goes, oh, I need to look at that. That's really interesting to me that their market share has dropped. We're not used to that. That's not something we've seen. On the second note, on the second screenshot, that is a Google Trends screenshot and basically measures engagement in search over time. So if you look at what the searches are happening on Google, right? ChatGPT is the term that I'm interested in, and you can see that line from the date February, back in February 2023 area, it absolutely exploded in interest, right? Google Trends, simply put, is interest online, basically, right? So we can see that line goes up and to the right, and we can see more and more people are turning to ChatGPT. You can see the total visits has grown so fast. That's that final screenshot on the left. It's grown actually so fast. I'm going to make a bold claim on the call today that it's projected to surpass Google by 2026, just next year. Now, let's pause on that for just a second, because that's not going to happen. Like, I made a bold claim and I'm telling you that's not going to happen. If everything were to remain the same, yes, ChatGPT by this projection would surpass Google by 2026, but we know that's not going to happen. Google has Gemini, Google has all these different things that it has. So it's gonna answer, right, and try to get some of its market share back. It's a large company. We can see this coming for sure. But ChatGPT was the first to market in an LLM. So we absolutely need to look at this because the number of users is exponentially growing. And these are real people who are using ChatGPT. These are your customers that are doing this, homeowners, businesses, apartment owners, all the different people that are out there that need services. Go to ChatGPT, right? There's a large segment that we are missing out on in order to rank on ChatGPT. Because with disruption comes opportunities. We got to make some moves in the turns now. I mentioned the google.com boom. AI is the next one. We are right at the precipice of this right now. And I want for any business owner out there, what I want is you to be able to jump in front of this and take advantage of it so that maybe at some point, maybe your goal is to exit your business, right? Just experience that exponential growth. This is what can get you there. This is what can help you pass the competition. So with that, we've covered kind of how does it work, or excuse me, why does it matter, right? We've covered why are we here today? Why do we think it's important? The next thing I want to cover is how does it actually work? We need to understand the tool to then be able to influence it, right? If I know how to use a drill, I can screw a screw. That's the goal here. So let's understand the tool. And we're going to break it down and why this shift matters. So Google shows, AI researches and retrieves, right? I'll show you an example here in just a second, but when you make a search on Google, it's going to show you a bunch of different options to choose from. We've all been there, right? And we kind of go look and see, and most of us click on the organic results. AI is going to go do that for you and give you the answer. So that's an interesting nugget to keep in the back of your head to know moving forward. Google is also transactional, right? Hey, I gave you the results, you click, you move. AI is conversational. I can ask a follow-up question and it knows the context that I'm in and tries to give me the best answer it can based on that context, based on what it knows about me and the questions that I'm asking. And finally, Google pulls from one source, and I specifically mean the AI overview, right? When you make a search on Google, you've probably seen the AI overview. That is pulling from one source, a website that it thinks ranks the highest, that it thinks has the most authority. AI, completely different. It blends multiple sources. And that's why people are jumping to ChatGPT or Gemini or all these different large language models, because the result of this is AI feels like it's talking with you, not at you. You feel like you're talking with another human. You feel like maybe there's 5 other humans around the table and you're like, cool, I can get a bunch of recommendations from all these different answers. AI is going to do the research for me. Guess what happens? Builds trust. That's why we're here, right? Trust is built through conversation, not transactions. We know this, right? We're in a relationship-based industry. Our techs go into people's homes and create a relationship. We create relationships with our customers. That's what this is about. AI can create a relationship or the perception of one, right? So when we look at some of these examples, I want to walk through a consumer example together, right? Customer experience together. Google is on the left, you can see that there, and ChatGPT is on the right. When we make a search, right, who is the best AC repair company for me to use, right? This is when I was in Arizona and I made a search. And you can see Google is giving me a list of links to go search for and do my research on. Something I'm used to. I've done that all the time. And I have to go do the work. So maybe I'll bounce around and go to Yelp, look at some reviews. Maybe I'll jump down to Reddit and see if someone has mentioned something, right? That's doing the work. I'm doing the work. You can see the experience is a little bit different on the right-hand side of ChatGPT. AI gives you the answer, and all you really have to do is consume it. That shift, it saves time. And that's why people think it feels more personal and builds trust faster than a page of just search results could. So my question, and you could put it in the Q&A or the chat or wherever you want to put it, is put in right if you're like, hey, Google's the better experience, or put in left, or sorry, I got my rights and lefts screwed up. Put in Google, let's just do this. Put in Google if you think Google's the better experience. Put in ChatGPT if you think ChatGPT is the better experience. I'm curious, what's the poll out there? If you go to your chat and put that in.
Taylor, chat's not working. I apologize to all the participants on today's, but if you drop it in the Q&A like we did at the beginning of the 1 and the 2, we'll get a good sense of that answer.
Cool. Technical fun, that's always great. So I'll rephrase the question just because I was a little unclear. Go ahead and put, if you think Google's the better experience on the left, put in Google. If you think ChatGPT is the better experience, go ahead and put in ChatGPT. I'm curious what we have. Yeah, Trevor, I'm with you. Such a huge difference. ChatGPT wins. ChatGPT, yeah, I'm seeing some answers now. Good, cool. Yeah, and you're absolutely right. I mean, that's why people are coming in here to go to ChatGPT and have this conversation. And we're going to dig into that here in the next couple of slides. So when I ask it a follow-up question, you can see that Google doesn't really know what to do with that, right? It doesn't really have the context. It kind of does, and it does an okay job. But when we look at this, it's pulling directly from Parker and Sons. You can see that, right? The AI overview is pulling directly from Parker and Sons. And of course, Parker and Sons thinks it's the best. It's Parker and Sons. Of course, because Parker and Sons is ranked number 1 in the search, Google's going to pull from that ranked number 1 thing. However, the ChatGPT is going to pull from multiple sources. You can see I asked the exact same question, why did you pick Parker and Sons? And it's going to give me all these different results. What's interesting here is it's going to give me the sources of those results too, and you can tell that it's different. It's different. And so my question for you guys, rhetorical question for you, I just want you to think about is, would you rather talk to a wall, which is kind of like Google right now, or would you rather talk to me, right? That perceived validity because it's coming from multiple sources. Would you rather talk to one of your friends, right? That's kind of the gap ChatGPT or these other large language models is filling for us, which is kind of exciting. It's kind of exciting to take advantage of this because customers are using this to have this conversation. So when we kind of pull into those sources, you can see, of course, like I mentioned, Parker and Sons is pulling directly from Parker and Sons. And it's doing this because Google wants that specificity. It wants it to be specific. So I ask it a literal question of why Parker and Sons is the best, and it's showing the page that Parker and Sons wrote of why they're the best, right? Equal, it's a total equal match. What's interesting about this, and I'm going to use my mouse here, hopefully you can see it over here, down here, Parker and Sons, the customer reviews, it's not pulling from that why choose our company page from Parker and Sons. It's actually pulling from the customer reviews, which I found super, super interesting when we did this experiment. It was like ChatGPT is pulling from what people are saying, their customer reviews on their website, not the page of why they should pick us. It wants that humanistic voice. I know it's a robot, but that was kind of like, whoa, that was an aha moment for us. It's the modern day word of mouth that we haven't seen before. And that is why we need to be able to influence it so that we can get you guys ranked a little bit higher in ChatGPT. So that brings me to the meat and potatoes of this presentation, the action items that I want you to be able to take. What can we do about it today or tomorrow to be able to grow our business? That's the goal. So Here at RYNO, we had a group of staff come together and we called it the Innovation Lab. I mentioned this at the top of the presentation, to where it was a person from basically every single department. We all came together, and I want you to picture in your mind's eye, go back to elementary school where you brought your threefold science fair thing project, and maybe you brought your potato and your light bulb, and you wired everything up and you saw if the light bulb turned on or not, right? That was kind of the hypothesis you were testing. We did the exact same thing with AI. On its simplest form. That's what we did. We came together and we said we have an inkling that this is going to influence ChatGPT, and so we did that on a website, and then it ranked or it didn't, and then we did something different and it ranked or it didn't or it did, and we track all of those results, and we did that over and over and over again. You can see we tracked and tested and tweaked and repeated that process over and over and over again, and we were able to find some really interesting results of how we can better influence ChatGPT, how we can rank in ChatGPT. Excuse me. So when we think of this, we need to think of this ecosystems as websites and search engines, as well as AI. It's not just or, it's and. Now, websites absolutely still matter. Search still matters. When we layer AI, it's layering on everything, which means SEO is more important now than ever. AI can't generate answers, right? If it doesn't have good content to pull from. So let me step out of kind of that intro to this slide and look at this example. When we look at this, I want you to pretend like you're the human, you're the client right here, and you do something on ChatGPT. I'm going to call it a search or a prompt. You prompt ChatGPT asking it a question. Here, you're going to have data collectors, right? ChatGPT will go out and collect a bunch of data coming in. That's going to come from blogs, websites, PDFs, anything that you've given it, your prompt. It's going to go out and search the World Wide Web to understand, hey, let me get all this information and pipeline it into a chatbot engine and then spit out the final answer to you. It's only as good as the information that you give it or the information that it can find on the web, right? And so that proves the point that SEO is absolutely not dead. We absolutely need to double down on what we're doing in the SEO world. We just need to pivot it a little bit. We just need to do some things a little bit different. And these are the things that we're looking at to do just a little bit different so that we can be more ranked on ChatGPT based on the slide that I just showed. So what can we do today? I want to focus on these things. On-site SEO, building content that AI trusts. Off-site SEO, building authority across different directories, as well as technical SEO. We have to be talking about making our site crawlable and fast. Now, some of you, your eyes might have glazed over when I said the word technical SEO. I'm going to break things down for you, so don't worry. Technical can get a little technical, but we'll get through it together. These are the things that you can control right now to future-proof your business. And finally, we'll follow it up with a watch list of things that I'm keeping an eye on personally. Just last night, I did research on this, so I have an update for you, like as of 24 hours. We are figuring this out as we go, right? So if you post a Q&A, if you have a question in the chat where you're like, I don't know the answer to this, and maybe I don't know the answer to this yet either, it's because we're literally figuring it out as we go. Like that's the whole goal of this. And that's what makes me so excited because it's brand new. Okay, so the first thing, on-site SEO tactics. Content is still king. That's what it comes down to. But the game has changed a little bit for us. Google wants precision. I mentioned this, right? When you make a search, AC repair in Littleton, Colorado, it's going to rank the air conditioning repair Littleton, Colorado page. It wants keyword accuracy. When we look at this, AI wants depth and context. AI wants longer form content, conversational style, Q&A, FAQ sections. This means that FAQ sections and blogs and more resource style content just became much, much more important, right? When we look at different ChatGPT results, it's looking for that depth. I no longer want to talk about the business and why I think the business is the best. I want to talk to the customer directly, because it's going to ask, that customer is going to ask follow-up questions to ChatGPT. And if I give it the answers to those follow-up questions, I can give it the information and the data that it needs, right? The content plan is absolutely really, really important. So we have to change how we're writing content on websites for it to rank us. You can see the example that I have here on screen is I searched for, hey, which digital marketing company can I use for my plumbing company? Which one can be the best? And you can see it gave me a couple of different answers. This is a two-way format though. It's less, like I mentioned, talking about the business and more talking to the customer, because this is a human on the other end of this asking this question, right? So if I push this forward and I go, cool, let me ask this follow-up question. Why did you pick RYNO? It can go look at RYNO's site, and because we've written our content in this more conversational style piece, it's going to answer my question with the information that it has. So if you can put more conversational style, FAQ, resource style content on your site, ChatGPT can crawl that wicked fast and then give the answers to the people who are looking for your business services, right? So big takeaway here is it's less talking about the business and more talking to the customer. Now, how do you do that, right? You might sit down on your computer and go, okay, well, I want to write more resource style content because Taylor said so. And how do I actually do that? What does that actually mean? Well, I have a tool for you that you can absolutely steal. This tool is something we use. It's called answerthepublic.com, and its most basic format is you can put in a topic like garage doors, like that's the example on screen, HVAC, it doesn't matter. And it'll actually show you all of the questions or most of the questions that people are asking online. And that was a really cool piece, right? If you want to go search for some of these different questions, if you're like, what question can I answer today that's going to help me rank in ChatGPT? Start answering these questions with your website, right? Write a blog post on one of these questions. Make sure your pages, your service pages, whether it be HVAC repair, whether it be installation, doesn't matter. Answer these questions that customers, consumers are asking, because these are the types of questions that they're going to ask in ChatGPT. I'm going to double down here. You want to make sure that you're answering these questions in a really humanistic, I don't know if that's a word, human format, right? You really want to make sure that you're talking to the person. That's what ChatGPT does. That's what it's looking for. It's looking for that depth and that context. Let's switch over to offsite SEO tactics. This is all going to be about directories, and we're going to specifically focus on the big one, Google Business Profile. And we're going to talk about three things kind of in this subset: relevance, proximity, and prevalence. So directories absolutely matter now more than ever. And I know they're not our favorite. I'm going to start talking about Angie's and Thumbtack and all these, and Yelp and all these things. I know they're not our favorite, but I'm going to give you some examples on why I think they're important. It's because AI doesn't always pull directly from Google Maps. It's cross-referencing sources like Yelp, Thumbtack, Angie, Better Business Bureau. It's going to look for expertise, and your reputation and reviews and your presence across these multiple platforms is now a direct ranking factor within AI search, specifically ChatGPT. So when we dive into relevance, what I mean here is let's go on the Google side for just a second. If we look at a Google Business Profile, you can have one primary category, right? In this instance, Habaika down in Arizona has HVAC contractor, right? You can have a couple of secondary businesses or different verticals that you have in here. I lost the word there for a second, but you can only have one primary, and Google's only going to look at that one, right? It might reference another one, but Google's really only going to look at that one to start to rank you. But ChatGPT can look at multiple. So in this example, right, I went back to my example of, hey, I'm a plumbing company, I need RYNO, or I need digital marketing services. Why did you pick RYNO? Okay, what services does RYNO offer? In this example, if you go to our Google Business Profile at RYNO, we are a digital marketing or digital internet company, internet digital, whatever the primary category is there. So if someone was searching for video production, as an example, we might not come up from a Google Business Profile or Google perspective, but we absolutely would in ChatGPT. You can see it's listed right here, right? We have video production listed as one of our services. And we did that really intentionally because AI is pulling from multiple sources holistically to if it gets this type of questions. You can see all the sources that it has over here, our website and some of the directories that we've mentioned. Speaking of directories, proximity is absolutely really important to start to take a look at too. Google uses proximity in the way that they define a city center, right? So in Boulder, Colorado, it has that little red pin, this little drop. It's deeming that as the city center. Google pulls this from its own database that's sometimes maybe like near City Hall, or it's inaccurate or outdated. It's not like I'm close to Boulder. I live in Colorado, and that's not the city center that the locals, quote unquote, know, right? Why is that important? Well, it's because the rankings that are super important within Google's mind, basically you rank a little bit higher the closer you are to the city center or the closer you are to your customers, kind of 1-2 punch there. And sometimes that's not that accurate. And the point I want to make with this is it's kind of out of our control. We can't really control this unless we open up new offices and do all the things. So I wanted to see how ChatGPT handled this. I wanted to see like, okay, is this something that ChatGPT can do? And so I did a search. I said, hey, I need an AC repair company near me. And you can see we're going to pretend this little star is my house. And it gave me a bunch of different options here, right? And that's cool. That's great. They're not really close to my house though. So I wanted to see like, how good is it? Okay, cool. Do you know where I am or just the city? Like, do you know anything? And it said, no, I don't know anything. Can you help me out? And so I gave it my address. I gave it an address with this little red star, and it got a little better. You can see like it got a little bit better with these options here around, okay, these people or these businesses, excuse me, are a little bit closer to my house, but it's still not great. And that's why I'm keeping an eye on proximity. This is the one thing that I literally last night, I didn't even have time to update the PowerPoint because literally last night I did an experiment and I wanted to see, did ChatGPT get better or worse? Like, where are we in proximity? And it actually got a little bit better. It kind of got a little bit closer to the city that I'm located in for some results. So I'm keeping an eye on it. What does this mean to you, right? You're probably like, Taylor, okay, cool. Like, I can't control proximity. We need to be aware of it. But like, what does that mean for me? Well, I know you've heard this before, but it means that reviews just became that much more important for us, right? Reputation management is huge. Now, I pause here for just a second because this was the aha moment that I want to give you today. If you were to take nothing else from this presentation, this webinar today, I want you to take this. This is super important. So let me walk you through this. Historically, Google, Apple, and Bing are the big ones. You can see Google has 90% market ownership on the review side of things. Google Business Profile reviews are super, super important, and that's not changing. I agree with that. However, at the Innovation Lab, we were able to do hours and hours of a couple hundred searches, and we tracked any time that ChatGPT pulled reviews from a different source that is not Google Business Profile. And those sources are listed right down here as direct. So Better Business Bureau, Thumbtack, Angie, Home Advisor, and 3 Best Rated. Those were the ones that ChatGPT pulled from directly from customer reviews. What does that mean for you? It means that you absolutely need to start managing those sites today. You need to start encouraging reviews because we know ChatGPT is pulling from these reviews directly. If we start to encourage more customer reviews over to the sites that I just mentioned, Better Business Bureau, Thumbtack, Angie, Home Advisor, and 3 Best Rated. I don't think you can get reviews on Better Business Bureau, but managing your profile is important. That's going to make you more competitive, right? So if someone searches for you on ChatGPT, it's going to pull from those sources to influence the results that it gives that person. What's better about this is you can actually use this to compete with the Goliaths of your market. If you're one of those people sitting out there today and you're a single shop owner and you don't have many locations and maybe you don't have that many Google reviews and you're constantly looking at some of your competitors that have 30,000 some odd Google reviews, this is where you can compete. If they're not looking at these direct sources for reviews, this is how you can compete with the Goliath of that market, of your market. This is how you can beat the big one if you go to these review sites and start managing your profiles. Now, I'll be the first to say, I know they're not everyone's favorite. I get it, and it's a lot to manage. But with the results that we saw, we can see these are the sites that ChatGPT is pulling from to rank the results it's giving the prompter, the customer. So please, 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 if you take nothing else away, please start managing your reputation on those different sites. Even just owning your profile is going to help. And the biggest one, if you didn't start with anything, the biggest one I would start with is Thumbtack. Why? Because this guy, Alex, I follow him, and he is big Javelin venture partner guy. and he announced that there is a partnership between OpenAI and Thumbtack. Thumbtack is the only partnership between like a home services partner, Thumbtack, and a large language model, OpenAI. Yelp and Perplexity are kind of coming down the pipe. That's on my watch list. I'll get to that in a second. But Thumbtack is super important to start to look at because it's the only one that's partnered with OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT. How does this work? They're using a system. It's ChatGPT's highest model. It's in their beta program. It's called Operator. And when Operator came to the field, I want you to think of Operator as kind of like an AI agent. If I put in something in Operator, it can kind of go do the work for me. For example, if I say, hey, I want you to book a plumber for me, it can kind of go do that work for me. It's going to go to Thumbtack and go do that work for me, which is exciting, right? So, and it's an exclusive partnership right now, right, with Thumbtack and OpenAI utilizing Operator. And so when someone goes to Operator and says, hey, I'm looking for these types of services, it's going to give me options and start to book those appointments directly on Thumbtack. So Operator might not be wildly used right now. And that's okay, right? I'm in a millennial generation. That's my generation. And I don't love talking on the phone and calling people, right? Like maybe my parents like to do that a little bit more than I do. Maybe as Operator becomes more widely used, I might start leveraging this, right? That's something that's interesting to me that Thumbtack is something I can use an Operator to book appointments for me. So you can actually go to OpenAI and try Operator yourself. You can go kind of see what that looks and feels like. But Thumbtack is definitely on the watch list to start looking at and seeing what we can do around Thumbtack. Okay, this is the last piece of what I want to talk about today to help influence ChatGPT results and its technical SEO. This is the part where everyone starts to glaze over and go, okay, I don't know what technical SEO is, and I'm just going to help you through it. Basically, what this means is the back end of your website, your SEO agency's job just absolutely became critical. AI is able to crawl these sites and basically read these sites at such an alarming speed that we need your site to be really, really responsive, fast, and structured, right? That means optimizing for site speed. That's going to help in Google's world as well as ChatGPT. It means cleaning up sitemaps to make sure that the data is structured and organized like schema. Because if bots can't crawl you, then you simply don't exist in AI search. That's it. You don't exist in Google either. You absolutely need to be looking at site speed and structure and organization so that these AI bots can crawl and find the answers they're looking for quickly, because it happens so fast. That's why they're being widely used. That's why trust is building with them. The other 2 points I want to make about this slide is we're going to start to see SEO visits go down because it's getting the answers that I need. Like, let's pretend for a second I'm the customer and I make a search or do a prompt on ChatGPT. It goes out and grabs the answer. Remember, those data collectors goes out and grabs the answer for me and then gives me the answer in the chat bot, in the chat. I don't necessarily need to go to your website anymore because it gave me the answer I'm looking for. Right? So we're going to see those visits go down. Over 60% of searches that happen right now go without a click. They're called zero-click searches. And so we're gonna think that SEO is getting worse, but that is simply not the case because we still need to do the things we're doing. Everything we talked about with content, FAQs, directories, all the things that we just mentioned to cater to the AI bots that go and find the answer and give it to the buyers. So you have to have this all set up, and it's gonna look like things are going down, but that's simply not the case. It's actually really exciting to see like the answers being given, and we can influence that. So with that, it brings me to our watch list. If you never see me again, if you have an agency that you're super happy with, that's amazing. And if you never see me again, if you never talk to RYNO again, I want to make sure that you're in good hands. That's my goal. My goal in life, ever since teaching swimming lessons all the way to now, is to just help people win. I love to help people. So this is the watch list. This is what I have my eyes on right now. One is paid advertising. Anyone remember when LSA leads or PPC leads for that matter, when it first started was like $30 a lead? That's what we might see with paid advertising, and that is coming as soon as possibly next year, right? They are going to monetize. Of course, they're going to monetize. OpenAI is going to do that, ChatGPT. So what is that going to look and feel like? Let's jump on that early. Let's try to get the first ones in on that platform so that we can get our ads up and running and hopefully take advantage of some cheaper cost per leads before it gets saturated. That's kind of number one on my list. Number two, I kind of mentioned that this is changing actually underneath our feet right now is location proximity. How good can ChatGPT, Gemini is another one that I'm looking at for this one, at location. If I'm a searcher and I'm located in Denver, Colorado, for example, does it know that? Does it know exactly where I'm located? And then exactly where the business it's going to recommend is located? Something I'm keeping an eye on. And then finally, what other strategic partners are going to happen with these LLMs? Specifically with OpenAI, we have Thumbtack, but we also have a partnership. It's only a data partnership, and I don't know what that means yet. I'm going to be fully transparent with everyone on the call today. I need to look into this. I'm not sure what it means yet, but Yelp and Perplexity are starting to get in bed together on, okay, what does that look like? If someone goes to Perplexity and wants to do a search or a prompt, it's going to leverage Yelp data, right? For example, if hey, I need a service technician out here. Are they available? Do they offer 24-hour service? I'm going to put in this big long prompt in Perplexity. It's going to leverage Yelp data to give me the answers that I'm looking for. So Yelp just became a little bit more important in my eyes from a strategic partner level. Something I'm keeping an eye on, something I'm looking at for the future. So with that, we came out with a goal. We wanted to understand how AI is reshaping consumer behavior. And I think we covered that. We answered the questions, why does it matter? How does it work so we can influence it? And then what can we do about it? So with that, here's the moment of truth. I'm back. This is where I want you, this is the deal that we made. I want you to promise me that you wrote down at least one action item that you could do tomorrow that's going to help you grow in ChatGPT results. Is that going to be taking a look at the content on your website? Is that going to be taking a look at Thumbtack if it's available to you? If that's going to be taking a look at Yelp because Perplexity is kind of coming down the pipe. I want you to be able to take an action item away that it's going to help, because studies show that when you're on a webinar like this, about 95% of you are not going to take any action at all. And that's okay. You're busy. I get it. All good. All good. You have a business to run. 5% of you are actually going to take action and do the things that you want to do that's going to push you forward. You're going to dive in the water, swim down to the other side of the pool, flip and beat your competitors. 5% of you. So my challenge to you is be the 5%. What we can do for you today is we can actually run a website analysis for you, right? We want to help. We want you to focus on running your businesses, and we want to focus on growing it. So we can get a really good understanding for a free website analysis on, hey, where are you right now with your competitors, with your rankings? Where are you today? And to get one of these analysis, if you don't have an action item, this is the action item you can do. You can do it literally right now. You can pull out your phone, take a picture and scan this QR code to get that website analysis. The moment just a few questions. If you fill out that form, just a few questions, our team can start to run that report and reach out to you to kind of give you your results. And you can take those results to your agency. You can talk more to us about your results. We're absolutely here to help you win because, and I said this at the top of the presentation, ambition without action is absolutely useless. You've got the playbook now. You know the stakes. We are here. We are at the turn. We are at the wall. Now it's about execution. I want you to stay connected with us here at RYNO. Stay connected with me. Please feel free to reach out if you have additional questions. I love talking about this stuff, and I hope that's been clear on today's webinar. I want you to take this opportunity to lead, not to lag. Brandon, I'll throw it over to you for questions.
Thank you, Taylor. That was amazing, as always, my guy. So we really appreciate my timer's showing 50 minutes, but we started a couple minutes early, so we really appreciate your time. We do have a couple of questions that came in throughout today's today's webinar. If you have any more questions for Taylor, please start sending them over while we answer these first couple. And Taylor, these first couple that came in, Kurt Bacon was asking, and I'm a little confused, but I think the question Kurt is really asking is, where is ChatGPT pulling reviews from? Kurt specifically said pulled customer reviews from website, not Google reviews, or are the reviews Google reviews on the website? And I think he was referencing some of your screenshots of a website as
Yeah,
well. So
okay.
maybe you could just provide some clarity around that.
Yeah, sure, sure. So Kurt, I think to answer your question maybe a little bit more holistically, and please feel free to to add context as needed or reach out to me. But when we're looking at this, we're seeing some sites that have customer testimonials on them, pulling from actual customer words. That's what ChatGPT wants. So the biggest differences we saw there was like we have a page from Parker and Sons that said, "Hey, this is why you should pick us." ChatGPT didn't really look at that, which I found super interesting. It's looking at more of the customer responses. Those could be Google reviews, those could be testimonials, but it utilized whatever it found on the website from a customer voice to give those results. So I found that super interesting. It depends on where you're located for getting Google reviews on your website. That sometimes that can be tricky. So absolutely something to look into. But that's what ChatGPT wants. The biggest thing I can give you right now is it wants that customer voice.
Thank you, Taylor. And Kurt, as Taylor said, if we misinterpreted your question, feel free to shoot us a note in the Q&A and clarify for us. Taylor, we've had Paul Hayes said Thumbtack's not available for all consumers yet in Canada. Do we have any sort of expectation of when Canada will be fully rolled out?
I don't. I saw this come in during when I was talking about Thumbtack, and it made me super sad because I was like, oh man, that's something a huge thing I would be looking at. Now, here's what I will say: if you're in Canada and you own your Thumbtack profile, if it's available to you, I would still double down in getting the accuracy involved. Right? Is your name, address, phone number on there? Are you kind of encouraging some reviews over there? Because we've seen such a connection between ChatGPT and Thumbtack. The other thing I would look at, because maybe Thumbtack's not wildly used as of yet, so that'll get you prepared, right? If something does come down the pipe for things, and I do want to look into that. The other thing I would start to look at is other directories. ChatGPT pulls from multiple different sources, and the more that you can be visible and own those directories, things like Three Best Rated, Better Business Bureau, so on and so forth, Yelp. That's where I would be right now. And I want to be the first to say, like, I know that's not easy to own all of those things, but the results spoke for themselves when we did the innovation lab. We did hundreds and hundreds of searches, and those ones came up over and over again. And so we said, okay, these are the ones we got to look at.
Thank you, Taylor. And folks, I encourage you, if you do have questions for Taylor about AI in general, feel free to send them over in the Q&A. I have a couple questions, Taylor.
Shoot.
What has Google's response been to all this? I mean, we see ChatGPT stealing market share. So, we'd be dumb to think that Google wasn't trying to build something or that rivals it or is better. What has been their response to date, and what do you expect, or how do you expect Google to continue to respond moving forward as ChatGPT gains more market share?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So ChatGPT, I always like to look at it as having kind of a leg up because it's first to market, but it does have some cracks in the armor there too. And what I've seen, the biggest crack being it has limitations. So if you don't want to pay for ChatGPT, I think their lowest plan is what, $20 a month, $10 a month, I can't
Oh
remember.
my
But Google Gemini, it doesn't have a limit. And it's actually a little bit better at image generation too. So I know that doesn't quite relate to what we were talking about today, but we're seeing some more people go over to Gemini because of the limitations of ChatGPT. Simply, hey, you have to start paying for this tool if you want to keep chatting with it. Now, it also shows that 27%, like over a quarter of Americans still go to ChatGPT over Google, but we are going to see some shifts and give and take between the two giants, right? Google and ChatGPT. I think the biggest thing that comes to mind as well, just to kind of follow up on that, is ChatGPT has to pull from a foundation, and Google has that foundation of SEO. All the websites that are on the World Wide Web is that foundation. So both models are going to have to pull from that. That's why SEO is not dead.
And I got one more question to you, folks. Final call for any questions for Taylor. Taylor, how realistic is it that ChatGPT is going to surpass Google by the end of next year?
I don't think it will. I don't think it will. Now, anything is possible, right? I just don't think with the numbers that we saw today, with the explosion into the billions really, really fast for number of users going to ChatGPT, that was really significant for us. But like you said, Google's going to fire back. That's what their goal is. Their goal is to keep the market share, and they already have the infrastructure on paid ads, LSA, as well as now the AI overview and AI search that it's important to keep an eye on. I don't, just to answer your question bluntly, I don't think it's going to overtake, but it's super interesting to look at.
I don't think so either, not at least by the end of next year. I think it might over time, but not by the end of next year.
Yeah. If we were to draw a straight line, it totally would, but things are not straight, especially in AI.
Well, Taylor, no other questions have come in, so I assume that you have delivered the world's best AI presentation and answered every single question. But again, folks, we appreciate your time. If you do have questions afterwards, feel free to reach out to RYNO. We'd be happy to answer them. And as Taylor mentioned, we can give you a free website rankings report, see how you rank versus some competitors. And Taylor might shoot me here, but we might be able to do that on the AI side of things too. So
I was going to say,
reach out to us if you're interested in learning how you rank specifically in ChatGPT search results for your keywords and services.
Yeah, let's absolutely do that. If you are curious on how you rank on ChatGPT, reach out to us. We can run a custom ChatGPT rankings report. It's something we built internally that we literally built last week. Like I said, we are just getting going on all this, which is really exciting. We can do that for you. The other thing I want to mention too is please reach out to me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I love to help people win. That's just my goal in life. And hopefully that's been really clear with my passion here today. So please reach out to me. I'm super excited about all this. And thanks for having me. Thanks for spending an hour with me. I know your time is valuable, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Taylor, and thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day and the rest of your week. Thank you.